Thank you for having us here today. We are Mycelium. Our smart, intelligent software allows us to create constant connection without constant attention. Mycelium operates within a user's email client and other messaging platforms in order to identify and respond to redundant communication. The problem that we are solving is inefficient communication, which manifests itself through over 35 hours of emailing per week, making it a top 3 annoyance for consumers and the #1 reason why employees quit their jobs.
The value we are creating here will be creating constant connection without constant attention, saving companies billions by reducing the time their employees spend on communication instead of actual productive work. This is our team. I specialize in data analysis. Coleman and Khushi are managing our business operations, and Jason and Melina are developers with a focus on human-computer interaction.
And here we can see the current state of communication. Lots of repetitive back and forths between a lot of different people. And Mycelium simplifies this process. Mycelium fills in for users and fills in for those back and forths and sends the information back to you after it has those conversations. And if your coworker isn't using Mycelium, Mycelium just talks to them directly. The difference Mycelium makes, and it's a little bit cut up, but is the difference between helping a user navigate a maze by taking off their blindfold with better organization and removing the maze entirely to help them access their information through our Mycelium.
Here are some examples of what our features will look like. Mycelium presents a daily digest of what users need to do manually, a pending section for tasks which involve sensitive information, and resolved for tasks already done by Mycelium. In this email chain, Mycelium resolves a request for the user's schedule. Mycelium not only provides generally available times, but also identifies the user's preferred times. Here, Mycelium finds and sends out a file based on a description and suggests to the user alternative files in case of a mistake, reducing potential cleanup for the user. Mycelium's FAQ Playground allows users to test questions against their own Mycelium. And if a user isn't satisfied with how Mycelium approaches a question, they can flag and correct it for future use.
Our initial market is human resources management. With that, let's meet John. John has been working in HR for 3 years and has 5 of his own accounts. He is capable of handling more, but due to inefficient communication with his clients, he is unable to do so. John needs constant connection without constant attention. What Mycelium will do is respond to simple communication requests for him and reduce communication lag with his clients. But John isn't the only one that faces this problem. The HR market is huge, with a market size of $50 billion, over 8,000 establishments, and 700,000 professionals.
Our business plan will operate on the freemium model, with free users being used to collect data to help improve the overall product. We'll offer several premium features, one of which is a smart company wiki, which allows employees to securely and easily access any company information they need. We will start with small local organizations and later target large organizations as we continue to grow. Our previous customers will serve as strong evidence for the adoption of Mycelium. As of now, we currently have 32 prospective users, giving our company an early user base, which will allow us to instill confidence in future clients. Right now, our primary competition are products like Gmail and Slack, but while they focus on improving organization, Mycelium removes the need for organization altogether.
And now we'll move on to some of our financials. So our competitors have a similar business plan and pricing plan. We'll focus on one premium version and then also just enterprise contracts. And our price will be at about $12, which is similar to Slack because we're competing on that time reduction and not cost of like the subscription. And in our financial projections, over the first 4 years, our costs build as we develop the technology and hire more employees. And then in the 5th year, as we focus more on sales and increasing subscription rate, our revenue exceeds those costs and our margins begin to grow as well.
Our next steps are to develop a minimum viable product for Mycelium. We hope to develop capabilities for automatic scheduling, maintaining a smart wiki, and using information to improve accuracy over the summer, and then by August and September, we hope to start letting users test our MVP and start signing contracts with local organizations. By creating constant connection without constant attention, Mycelium's potential value creation makes our product worth building. Thank you.
I have a question. Carl Thomas here. So my question is, in terms of your conversations with these, I guess you've done interviews, potential customer interviews with these 32 potential customers from CMU, I think, right? What are their thoughts on actually releasing control? So I think that's a real issue for users, is actually trusting the system enough to actually let it send emails externally or to anybody that's, of any important email or communication.
Yeah, that is the main concern. One of the things they've wanted is security features, so that's one of our core focuses of determining what information you can share and with who. So that is a big concern. We did sort of test it with a friend, and he was comfortable relinquishing his control. Obviously, that's a friend, and it is different, but that'll just be focused on building that trust and ensuring that security works.
I have a follow-up to that, to Carl's question. Is there a way that users can help inform your Mycelium to help understand what the comfort level is for various communications? Can users help create a hierarchy?
Yeah, so the way we're looking at it, Mycelium will always work on like making the predictions and creating drafts. Users will have control over whether or not that draft gets sent automatically, so they can decide what information they actually want to share without them, versus just seeing it and then clicking accept, basically.
So I wasn't sure exactly. At first, I thought you were doing kind of Slack and emails and Calendly, but you mentioned to-dos and FAQs and wikis. So, like, which of these things, of these communication tools, are you kind of replicating, or are you just integrating what you providing?
The idea is to integrate with a company's workflow. So if they have a wiki, we'd like to build onto that so that users can search it with Mycelium and Mycelium can access the information in the wiki. We'd also work through their email client, whether that's like Outlook or Gmail, through Chrome add-ons. And basically, those are the way we gather information, and then we send out the information through those preferred channels within that company as well.
Just another follow-up here. We actually had an experience in this past year, I'll take this off, with a chief of staff. You talk about chief of staff, I think, in your business plan. And I think a lot of people aren't familiar with what a chief of staff does. You know, actually going and checking email for a CEO, for example, and replying on their behalf. And it was interesting because we had that experience in our own business. But I'm wondering, is that something you need to, how have customers actually been familiar with that even that idea to educate about this concept of a chief of staff or really a proxy?
Yeah, I think something similar is like, I'm on vacation emails, when you just get a response like that. And we see ourselves being in a similar lane of not having the formality of a person, but this understanding that that information is being shared on the behalf of this person.
Would this be, I'm sorry. Would this be applicable to enterprise customers, customer support, tech support, things like that, versus individual users?
Yes, and that is a focus. It's also kind of this idea of, rather than pre-building answers to questions you expect, being able to have a little bit more intelligence about how to answer questions, and then just using information from people currently actively working in the company to answer questions like that.
I guess the follow-up to that is, it actually sounds like chatbots are like your biggest competition. And there's a lot of technology out there already doing that.
I think possibly. We see chatbots working on a website, whereas this is more external to a company and external to how people are communicating with each other within a company, and especially being built within Slack and Gmail. And having access to more files and being able to share files and stuff like that.
Have you found a particular area where there seems to be kind of an excess of pointless communication or redundant communication? Like, I think it'd be really helpful if I could understand what problem are we solving here? Because, yeah, endless communication is always a problem, but like, where are you going to drill down?
Yeah,
Do you have a use case?
We're focusing on is human resources, because that's a lot of similar questions and a lot of similar questions with personalized answers, and we think we can address that with this. And human resources is also good because they have a lot of files and websites that we can just attach to users and just helping connect with them. It also comes from experience of Melina and I working within CMU and CMU's human resources, which is a reason we want to help them solve some of their problems.
Is there a characteristic associated with human resources that you could sort of replicate over 100 organizations? Like, what is it about HR?
It's a lot of just FAQs and repetitive back and forths. And one of the features that's helpful is like the did you mean? So if we can infer what someone's asking for and maybe that question isn't answered directly, we also provide other suggestions that they can just click on that, and that reduces the cleanup time of continuing that back and forth.
Thank you very much, guys.
Great job.